So, first of all, a thank you to everyone who has indulged me the last couple of days with these videos that I've put up. Um, I'm part of me part of me doesn't like being so bluntly honest about where I'm at, but at the same time, it's just I don't have any real good reason not to just be open and honest. And I want to touch on one thing, and I'll try to move on after this. I don't think there's a whole lot more to say at the moment, so I'll try to move on after this to other topics. But I alluded to the fact that I'm a high functioning autistic, and in previous videos, and I don't like talking about that because, quite frankly, I hate being on the spectrum with the being on the spectrum with the Chris Chan contingent and everything. And there's a movie, Mary and Max, I believe it's called. It's a stop motion animation movie. It's actually really good, but it's about a woman or a young girl who through the movie grows into a woman, but starts out as a young girl who randomly writes to a random person in the phone book trying to get a pen pal and a pen pal relationship going. And the person writes back, and the person turns out to be this guy named Max who has Asperger's syndrome. And he's from New York. He has a very thick New York accent. And at one point, you can see the clip online, by the way, and it really is a sweet movie. But at one point in the movie, he says, he's describing what it's like to be an Aspie, and he says, "They say they want to cure me, but I don't want to be cured. I like being an Aspie." I don't. I really fucking don't. It's like, you go out on a date, and or you start dating a woman. I start dating a woman, and eventually, everything goes great and goes great, 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 great until I fuck up in some way, and she views me and she views what's just happened as me being a smug, arrogant, stuck-up prick. She thinks I was acting with willful disregard for her well-being and or her wants and needs and her desires, that kind of thing. Like I'm being big on Sex and the City or something. That's what that's what gets thrown in my face time and again. I have to stop and say, no, you don't understand. I didn't understand this basic aspect of human interaction. It's funny. Like I had a thing with this woman. I feel really pathetic talking about this, but maybe I can make a difference. Who knows? Anyway, there's a woman a few months ago that I met that I was really into, and we were really clicking, and it felt really good. And we were talking about the subject. We were texting back and forth, and the subject came up of what love means to us, and the idea of love. And I gave my answer, and then she responded and she said, "Well, love for me is finding somebody that isn't expecting me to be their other half and isn't expecting me to complete them. I need somebody that's complete in and of themselves and is focused on the relationship and not just me trying to endlessly fill a void that I can't possibly fill." And so my response was, "Oh, so it sounds like what you're looking for is a man who has no flaws of his own and is just completely devoted to your needs." And she and she was like, no, that's not what I meant at all, and I'm sorry, I seem to have touched a nerve. And I showed the text to some friends, and they're like, "No, it had nothing to do with you. What she was talking about was that she doesn't want to, I don't want to repeat the exact language, but they said what she's describing here, this means that she's been in toxic codependent relationships in the past, and she's looking for this. She's trying to avoid that in the future. This has nothing to do with what she said about you, and or how she feels about you." could have knocked me over with a feather. I mean, I had no idea that that's what it meant. I could never have figured that out. I mean, it was just a puzzle to me what she actually meant. And I had to eventually tell her, look, I'm sorry, I'm an Aspie. Sometimes I don't get these things. Well, obviously we're not together. And that's the great aggravation. Is it's like it's something that in my day-to-day life, there's Aspies that can't, there's Aspies that if you tell them to take this item, go stand in the checkout line and give them money, give people money, and for the item, and then take your change, put it in your pocket, and go. That's too much for them. Like that's not my deal at all. And there are the Chris Chan level of Aspies that double over. If they hear something they don't like, they double over on the ground and start screaming. I'm not anywhere near like that, but I do just things I fuck up, and the way that I've covered up for that fucking up in the past is a very negative and toxic thing, which is to be as brash and arrogant as I possibly can, as in your face and arrogant about it as I possibly can, and fully and completely embrace that. And that's that's my great aggravation. And it's like I can't. That's just one example, but it's like you tell a girl that you're an Aspie, and she immediately puts you in the adult diapers and seizures, random seizures category. And so that's the clusterfuck of it. And one of the things that really got under my skin with that Hbomberguy video I was talking about was he reiterates in he's going back over the previous video that he made, and he wanted to correct himself on something he said that was hypocritical, and that was that he showed a clip from one of my videos where I was live streaming with somebody, and I looked at, you see me look out the window like I would, this is what you see, just me looking up above and beyond the camera. I looked out the window and I said, speaking of objective reality, the most objectively fine pair of legs just walked by outside. And Harrison bites into me about that. His response was, "Oh, really?" Was something like, "Oh, really? Does he? Were his legs hairy? Does he work out?" Like he made it sound like I was looking at a man, and he wanted to walk back that statement because he himself is bisexual. He realized that it was a homophobic remark, which it was, and wanted to walk it back. And I think that's good. I mean, he may just be trying to save face. I don't know. He does not seem like somebody that displays a lot of empathy for people, so he may have just been trying to save face with his crowd. But I do appreciate that at least on some level he recognized the hypocrisy of what he said and walked it back. But what I don't understand is why it's wrong for me to express. Why is it wrong for me to express appreciation for that woman's legs? I understand why it would be wrong to catcall somebody. I understand why it would be wrong to harass somebody with it. And believe it or not, something I have to deal with in that regard. I know it doesn't look like it right now because I just got in from working out, but something I have to deal with is women who think they have the right to come up and play with my hair and, start playing with my hair and tugging on it and everything. And that, I find that to be an extraordinary affront. And of course, the reaction you get from people is, "Oh, well, you should just love the attention. You should just appreciate the attention." And so, anyway, I understand why catcalling would be a problem, but why was I in the wrong? I don't understand. Legitimately admitting to having Asperger's, something that I absolutely despise admitting to, and that I hate. This is one of my like deep, dark, secret things that I never ever want to think about or acknowledge or admit to anybody. It's like, I mean, it's that level of I don't ever, I'm admitting something that I don't ever want to have known. or want to admit to or talk about. On that level, I don't get it. I don't understand why, it still carries. His correction was that he didn't want to appear homophobic. Not that he's not, there's something about men finding women attractive that's not okay. And I can't fucking figure out what that is. And you might have noticed that in all of my blogging and all of my commentary, I work off of the predicate that I don't understand what is the problem here. I don't get it. No one can explain it to me. And that really pisses me off. It really pisses me off. I mean, the woman, I don't even remember actually saying it. If it weren't for the video footage, I would have forgotten it completely. But I don't remember what that woman even looked like. I don't remember who I was looking at. I didn't know the person. But more so, I didn't identify the person in the video. I didn't put them on camera. Roosh V did a thing where he started what he called the international fat shaming movement. And what he wanted his followers to do was go take their phones. When I say take pictures, I don't mean copy pictures that people uploaded to social media of their own free will. He wanted men, his followers, to go around and snap pictures with their phones of fat women, overweight women that they see around town, and upload them to the internet for everyone to make fun of. And then this piece of shit can't figure out why he's and then his excuse, the excuse that he makes is, that he's doing this for their own good, that something's got to work to try to get through to these women. And I think that's obvious bullshit. I think he knows exactly what he's doing. And I think he's a sociopathic cretin that gets off on hurting people. But anyway, I understand that. I understand why actively antagonizing somebody would be wrong. I don't understand why expressing approval. I also understand, by the way, why Donald Trump's grab him by the pussy comments are morally unacceptable. I understand all of that. I don't understand why it's a problem to express approval for somebody's looks in a manner in which they don't even hear about it. They're not identified. Nobody could possibly identify who I was talking about unless, I don't know, they went and time-stamped the YouTube, the date of the live stream, worked out what the time was when I was that far into the live stream, somehow got a hold of the police camera footage from the intersection outside that apartment I was living in, cycled through it and found exactly who I was talking about, and uploaded it that way. And I'm not suggesting they do that, by the way. I'm saying that to show how utterly impossible that would be. Unless that weird freak occurrence were to happen, there is no way anybody could know who I was talking about or anything. I mean, I don't understand what the problem was there. Harrison's whole thing he talks about in that video, he says that what he realized was that rather than try to make intellectual arguments to defeat these opponents, you have to just laugh at them and crush them by, point out what losers they are, and that's what makes a difference. Well, Harrison, you're not doing anything morally better than what I was doing, okay? All you're doing is putting up, all you're doing is just inviting people to laugh at somebody you don't like. It's just bullying. It's just schoolyard crap. And if I can claim one small piece of moral high ground, it's at least that I did take the time to put up those epic 3 and 4 hour videos where I'm deconstructing every single little point that somebody made. Only to learn that that doesn't make any difference either. So, what did I do wrong? What was the morally reprehensible thing there? I don't get it. It's just like, the Gillette commercial, the woke Gillette commercial comes out, and one of the things in there is a guy sees a woman walking down the street that he wants to go talk to, and his buddy's like, no, not okay. And stops him. It's like, and that makes you a better man for stopping your friend from going and talking to a woman he wanted to talk to on the street. Like, I don't understand the problem there. And look, I'll go you a step further. I understand that there can be a degree where it goes too far, where you can start harassing people. I had a situation about 2 years ago. I was walking around a store doing, the grocery store attachment of a gas station, the convenience store, and this gay guy followed me in. I assume he was gay. He follows me and he walked right in my personal space the entire time I was in the store, muttering these like sexual things to me. And this little wormy guy's muttering this sexual stuff to me, and I wasn't physically afraid. He had all the body mass of Andy Dick, so I wasn't physically afraid, but I was getting annoyed and getting creeped out by this guy that's like following right here, whispering all this wonderful stuff to me. But what I don't understand is the idea that just going up and speaking to somebody that you're interested in is wholly unacceptable in and of itself. There's no way to know until you try. But I'm apparently, see, you have to understand, everybody writes in and tells me all this great stuff, but all of the compliments, and I appreciate them, and all of the kind words, I appreciate it, I really do, and it means a lot to me to hear all of that from you. But that doesn't change the fact that the historical record has been made about me. There's nothing I can do to overcome this. Barring some kind of miracle, Hbomberguy's commentary on me will go down in the annals of history as the record of my time on Earth. And, you know, people say, well, why do you care? Because I always hoped that my life would amount to something significant. So I don't understand it. I don't get it. There's something I did wrong there, and I'd like to know what I did wrong. In seeing somebody walking down the street, commenting from inside my apartment that I thought that they had nice legs, from a from a perspective of, it's kind of like, in another one of his videos, Harrison talks about, he makes fun of me for mentioning this this stripper that I know that works at a certain establishment here in Atlanta, and it's like there was something wrong about me mentioning her, and everybody in the comments is talking about that they hope she's okay and all of this stuff, and it's like, well, first of all, I would imagine she would appreciate the added patronage, if anything. But it's like, if pointing that out was so wrong, why are you republishing the statement in your video? Your video that has gotten close to 1 million views has done a hell of a lot more damage to get that information out there. It's done if that is indeed doing damage to that woman, it's done a hell of a lot more than anything I ever did that got, my original video that probably got 1,000 or 2,000 views tops. That I would really like to know. I'd really like to know. And there's a lot of things that I don't understand. I'm not saying this rhetorically. I'm saying it because you win. I admit that I'm the failure and I'm the loser and I'm trying to understand. And I would really like to know. It's just like, Zoe Quinn, Zoe Quinn kind of, it's like, okay, I'll give you an example. Zoe Quinn comes out as non-binary. And I thought, okay, if Zoe Quinn is no longer a woman, does that mean that it is no longer misogynistic to criticize Zoe Quinn? I'm not saying that sarcastic. I understand how that sounds sarcastic, but I'm genuinely asking. I genuinely want to know. Just like I genuinely want to know what happened to the, $80,000 she got for that weird gay porn video game that she was trying to make a while ago, and it's never come out. There's never been, it's never come out. There hasn't been an update since, I believe, 2018. It's all but forgotten about. She got $80,000 to do that, and nobody is, nobody seems to think that that's a scam. However, I crowdfunded a documentary that I created and released, and then you still have the gall to say that it was. You still have the gall to call that a scam. I don't get this. I don't fucking understand it. people messaged me when, I should do a commentary on this. I have a long backlog of things to talk about, but Mercedes Carrera, who was in the Sarkeesian Effect, she and her husband were arrested on accusations of child molestation, and they are in prison awaiting trial. People were messaging me asking if I was going to recut the Sarkeesian Effect to get after what's happened with Mercedes Carrera. One, because I don't believe in doing the George Lucas thing where you recut and re-release a new thing. And I know nobody actually gives a shit about my documentary. I'm not in any way, shape, or form claiming that anyone does or that it's on par with George Lucas or anything. But in principle, I don't believe in doing that. I think once it's done and released, it's done, period. But more to the point, I believe, when I interviewed Mercedes Carrera, one, she's innocent until proven guilty. But two, I don't believe that you can hold people responsible for not knowing that someone would be accused of a crime 4 years later or 3 years later. Like, there's no way of knowing that Mercedes Carrera would have been accused of this. And no, the fact that she's an adult film star does not change, does not add any weight to that. That possibility. No. So there's no way of knowing that this was going to happen down the road. The other reason that I don't believe in it is because I don't believe that there's any problem is because there is so much hypocrisy on the other side. You have, you had a, who was it? Valis 77, I believe, was the screen name of the guy who was a convicted sex offender, who was running the all ages, who was moderating the all ages chat forums for Feminist Frequency. The guy who posts videos of himself pedaling on a bicycle, pedaling past an elementary school, saying, "Oh no, y'all, here's the place I'm not supposed to be. Oh no," like gloating about the fact that he's a convicted sex predator. You have that guy who is in the employ of Feminist Frequency. You have Devin Ferrasi, who gets fired from his job on sexual harassment allegations, quietly hired back and fired again on sexual harassment allegations. You have Hannibal the Victor 13, who turns out to be a convicted sex criminal. It's just this overflowing orgy of sexual transgression on their side, and then I'm supposed to go back and re-edit the Sarkeesian Effect because someone I interviewed who had not ever been accused of a crime then was later accused of a crime. I don't get it. I don't understand this shit. And I don't like the feeling that there's everybody gawking at me like there's some brazenly obvious moral transgression I'm committing, and that I'm mocking that transgression and arrogant about the fact that I'm making that transgression, when in reality, I don't fucking know what the transgression is. So if you could explain to me what I did wrong in commenting on those nice legs that walked by my apartment. The other day, some nice legs walked by the window of my apartment that I'm in now. What the fuck was the problem? Anyway, thank you for listening to me vent my spleen. I will try to focus on something else in my next video.